This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Once again, the dispute over the Lebanese Sheba farms has returned to the spotlight. This news comes after an Israeli official, speaking on condition of anonymity, confirmed that the United Nations considers the Sheba farms Lebanese territories and demanded Israel withdrawal from there. According to the Israeli source, during the past few weeks, the United Nations has sent to Israel several letters regarding a conclusion drawn by an international cartographer who confirmed that the Sheba farms belong to Lebanon and not to Syria.
مزارع شبعة الواقعة جنوب لبنان وأخيرا أقرت الأمم المتحدة.
The UN has finally acknowledged that the Sheba farms in southern Lebanon belong to Lebanon and not to Syria. According to France Press News Agency, an Israeli official said that the UN demanded Tel Aviv withdraw from the Sheba farms. This news comes after an international cartographer concluded that the farms are Lebanese. The Sheba farms, which are located at the triangle of Israel, Syria and Lebanon, have an area of 39 square kilometers and were captured by Israel during the 1973 war. The area was later annexed to Israel after it seized control of the Syrian Golan Heights. Meanwhile, Israel and the UN denied the report published by the Israeli Haaretz newspaper, saying that the UN asked Israel to transfer sovereignty of the Sheba farms over to the international peacekeeping forces deployed in southern Lebanon. Beirut, which always considers the Sheba farms a Lebanese territory, suggested that the area be temporarily administered by the international forces until an agreement over the borders is reached. The occupation of the Sheba farms was a reason for the ongoing animosity between Hezbollah and Israel in the aftermath of the 2000 Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon. According to observers, the conclusion drawn by the international cartographer, who is expected to return soon to the area, may carry with it major changes. Hezbollah confirmed that the Sheba farms are a Lebanese problem and not an international one. Israel, which rejected the transfer of the Sheba farms to the international forces, said that it is willing to hand over the territory to Lebanon through a bilateral agreement. عدنان عبود العربية.
مشددين على تسليمها إلى لبنان في إطار اتفاق ثنائي معه. عدنان عبود العربية.
منعت قوات الاحتلال الإسرائيلي لليوم الخامس على التوالي المواطنين الذين تقل أعمارهم عن
For the fifth consecutive day, the Israeli occupation forces have prevented Palestinian residents from leaving the governorate of Tulkarem. This news comes after the Israeli army erected checkpoints at the main entrances of Tulkarem near Jazeera in the south and Annab in the east.
In
a show of solidarity with the village of Susia, foreign sympathizers and local residents organized a rally to protest the ongoing Israeli violations in the area. The head of the village council said that despite a court order allowing the residents of Susia to stay in the sheds they had built on their land, the Israeli occupation authority demanded them to leave unless they get building permits.
On June 6, 2007, the Supreme Court of Justice issued an order allowing us to return and live on our land. However, the court overturned its decision and left us to the mercy of the Israeli civil administration, which treated the sheds as buildings that require special permits. The Israeli civil administration gave us 1 month to apply for a building permit, knowing that if we file 100 applications, they will be denied.
In the governorate of Tulkarem, the bulldozers of the Israeli occupation have completed building the apartheid wall on the land of the Hafasi village near the Bnei Hafiz settlement southeast of Tulkarem. According to local sources in Tulkarem, the completion of the apartheid wall has led to the confiscation of large areas of the village, where the local residents were denied entry to their land unless they have special permits.
My cousin Rushdie and I have lost more than 30 dunams of land to the apartheid wall. In addition, they confiscated between 7 and 8 dunams of land that belongs to my cousin Ziad Ahmed Audi, Abu Mazen. Abu Mazen's land was developed and planted with Roman olive trees, which Israel uprooted.
أول امبارح بدي فكر هاي الدم نص فقطن هو ولاده كسر فيش إلا نتوتهدى يا عمي أضع هو السليت ورا الدار هسا أولادنا انطلعوا.
The wall passes behind our house. This poses danger to the lives of our children. We can't move freely from one area to the other. In contrast, the Israeli children on the other side of the wall have large playgrounds where they can do whatever pleases them. We're living here in humiliation and danger. The wall is suffocating us, and we can't move freely from one place to another. Besides this house, they confiscated our land and took everything we owned. What do you think of this life? Is this living?
How far are some people willing to go to foster peace between Muslims and Jews? Well, 2 men, one Jewish and one Arab, have given their blood for the cause. Assisted by an organization called the Fifth Mother, the two gathered their co-religionists together to give much-needed blood donations for patients in Gaza as an expression of trust that crosses religious borders. IBA's Sheila Zucker brings us the story.
Jabareen Hassan Asliya of al-Fahim donated blood for the first time 34 years ago when he was a student at Moreshet Rupin. His Jewish roommate was called up to serve during the Yom Kippur War, and Hassan wanted to help out. This past February, at the height of the inner fighting inside Gaza, another one of his Jewish friends, Chaim Nardi, called and said he wanted to donate his blood. I
told him that I want to donate blood to Arabs in Gaza. And Hassan was very excited from this, and he told me, wait a minute. He phoned here to El Muqassid Hospital and told them that I want to donate blood. And they come back to me and told me they accept your blood, your gift.
That's how the two later joined with an organization called the Fifth Mother in an effort to make mutual Jewish-Arab blood donations as a bridge to peace. The people who arrived at East Jerusalem's Muqassid Hospital yesterday hope to build mutual trust by joining together across national and religious borders.
The only way to do peace is to be close to the other. And Hassan is the other to me, and I am the other for him. And now we are friends.
Ibtisam Mahamid was happy that Israelis showed up to donate their blood for Arabs and hopes the gesture will be reciprocated.
I'm very happy to be here and see the Jews, the Israel, give love about the Palestinians. And I believe one day, maybe today, to see another Palestinian coming in the hospital and give blood about the Israel.
And if this message will be heard by all, and will be acted on all, this can be a much better place to live. This is Sheila Zucker from Muqasset Hospital in East Jerusalem.
Hello and welcome. On the eve of the commemoration of the first anniversary of the start of last summer's war with Israel, Premier Fouad al-Sannoury is going to address the Lebanese in a few minutes. And with the army expected to conduct a final settlement of its operations on the ground, remaining Palestinians trapped in Nahr al-Bared by weeks of fighting between the army and Fatah al-Islam started to flee this morning. 7 civilians left the bombed-out Nahr al-Bared camp on foot, along with the Palestinian Red Crescent ambulance and a car. A Red Crescent member said that this was the first batch and the remaining refugees will be evacuated later in the day. About 400 refugees were reported to be living in dire conditions in the camp. A member of the mainstream Fatah movement told AFP that armed militants of factions within the Palestinian Liberation Organization will also leave the camp with the civilians. Last night, a Lebanese soldier was killed by Fatah al-Islam sniper in the Mhamra town next to the Nahr al-Bared. The army pounded 6 shelters inside the camp where Fatah al-Islam militants were holed up and running their operations. The national news agency, meanwhile, also reported that Israeli warplanes violated airspace above the Nahr al-Bared camp and the northern province of Akkar.
The Muslim Scholars Association in Pakistan organized a large demonstration to condemn the Pakistani forces' military operation at the Red Mosque in Islamabad, which killed the leader of the standoff, Abdel Rashid Ghazi. Meanwhile, sporadic clashes continue between the Pakistani forces and those who are still inside the mosque.
Hundreds of protesters held a demonstration in the streets of Peshawar condemning the military operation that took place at the Red Mosque and its Hafsa religious school. The demonstration was organized by the Muslim Scholars Association, the government's main ally in the region. Local ministers who participated in the demonstration said that the military operation served the American agendas.
We in the United Muslim Action Committee strongly condemn this operation. All the Pakistani people believe that the government's position is wrong. We have declared a 3-day mourning period.
The United Muslim Action Committee in Islamabad declared a 3-day mourning period. Its members held a symbolic demonstration outside the parliament to protest what had happened.
This operation was planned and executed by the Pakistani army to please the U.S. An investigation committee must be formed to find out what happened in this operation.
The 2 sisters of the standoff leader Abdel Rashid Ghazi, who was killed in the operation, went to the court to meet with the judge and inquire about the whereabouts of their brother's body and the fate of his children. The Pakistani army said that it was still carrying out military operations to get rid of the last pockets of resistance. Political observers believe that what happened has created the largest division in the historical alliance between the Pakistani military and Islamist groups, specifically the Deobandiyya Hanafi Islamic School. Ahmed Zaidan, Al Jazeera, Islamabad.
Ahmed Zaidan, Al Jazeera, Islamabad.
The case of the 5 Bulgarian nurses and the Palestinian doctor is nearing its end. After their death sentence was upheld in court, the fate of these individuals remains in the hands of the Supreme Judicial Council, which will meet next Monday to discuss the case. The confirmed sentence came a day after an announcement that a comprehensive settlement was made between the Gaddafi Foundation and the families of the victimized children who were infected with AIDS.
In a hearing that lasted only 5 minutes, the court upheld the final death sentence. Although the defendants were absent from court, the noose will tighten around the necks of the 5 Bulgarian nurses and the Palestinian doctor, except under one scenario: if the Supreme Judicial Council reverses its decision in light of a deal that was reached yesterday between the Gaddafi Foundation and the AIDS victims' families in Libya. This agreement includes everything that had been previously publicized about it: a comprehensive settlement that satisfies all sides and puts an end to the crisis. The only clear key was that the victims' families accepted financial compensation.
Bulgarians are closely monitoring this trial case. They hope that human life is more important than economic agreements.
While Bulgarians are paying attention to the fate of their nurses, Libyans are paying attention to their country's agreements with Western countries, which are, on the surface, financial agreements, but are essentially more political in nature. These agreements are paving the way for Libya to improve relations with the European Union and the United States, thus ending the country's diplomatic isolation.
I think this was a political trial. It has specific political aims.
Politics were mixed with humanitarianism in this trial, thus undermining the real reason why the nurses and doctor were sentenced. They were charged for deliberately infecting Libyan children with the AIDS virus while they were working at the Benghazi hospital in the 1990s. Their victims were 438 children, 56 of whom have died, and whose graves are the only things left of them for their families.
The court session upholding the sentence barely ended before reactions began to emerge. The first reaction came from the European Foreign Affairs Commissioner, who called on Libya to have mercy in the case of the Bulgarian nurses and the Palestinian doctor. The Deputy Bulgarian Foreign Minister Lyubomir Kuishikov announced that upholding the death sentence was not a surprise to Sofia.
The Iraqi Ministry of Energy signed an agreement with an Iranian company to construct an electricity plant that can generate 300 megawatts of power in Sadr City in Baghdad, which will help to improve the electricity services. This agreement comes amidst an almost complete absence of electricity in the Iraqi capital and other cities.
Iraqis are suffering in the simmering summer heat due to the complete lack of electricity and a deteriorating energy sector. Most areas of Baghdad lack electricity. For this reason, the government and the Ministry of Electricity have been making efforts to advance this important sector. The Ministry of Electricity signed a contract with an Iranian company to build an electric plant in Sadr City, which can generate 300 megawatts of power to help improve the electric services in the country.
Sadr City signed a contract with an Iranian company to build a 300 megawatt plant at this site. Currently, the contract is being ratified by the concerned parties, God willing.
The Iraqi public in most Iraqi areas is living a bitter reality without adequate or continuous electric power. Also, there is a lack of fuel to run the public power generators, which many citizens rely on to secure their electrical needs. This has angered the Iraqi public, which has been demanding the Iraqi government to find appropriate solutions to these sufferings, which they say have become eternal.
There is no electricity, there is no gasoline. Sometimes we go the whole day without receiving any power. I have 3 daughters and they are dying from heat. We barely get an hour of electricity a day. Sometimes we don't even get that hour.
People who can get gasoline can barely fulfill their needs. There is no public electricity. The problem of electricity has become an eternal problem.
Iranian companies were on the forefront of supporting the Iraqi electricity sector. Iranian companies and the Ministry of Electricity are assisting Iraq in getting out of this crisis by building electric generators and training their employees. Soon, they will even link Iranian and Iraqi electricity grids to extend electric power to more areas. Amidst the continued cuts in electric power, the signing of contracts between the Iraqi Ministry of Electricity and foreign experts, like those in the Islamic Republic of Iran, who have extensive experience in producing electrical energy, may contribute to relieving some of the suffering of the Iraqi people.
US President George Bush has defended his country's troop buildup in Iraq, saying in time it will deliver stability.
Well, this comes ahead of an interim report that's expected to criticize the Iraq security plan. But as Rob Reynolds reports, despite growing censure in his party, Bush will not set a date for pulling the troops out.
Amid crumbling political support and demands for Iraq troop withdrawals, President George Bush declared U.S. forces must stay.
And I believe Congress ought to wait for General Petraeus to come back and give us assessment of the strategy that he's putting in place before they make any decisions.
That report by Petraeus, the commander on the ground, is due in September. Although stepped-up operations have been underway in Baghdad and other regions for months, Bush said the surge of over 20,000 additional troops had only now been completed.
We just started. He got all the troops there a couple of weeks ago.
In his speech before a business group in Cleveland, Ohio, Bush deflected responsibility for success or failure in Iraq onto his generals.
That's what the American people expect. They expect for military people to come back and tell us how the military operations are going.
With his approval ratings and public support for the war at rock bottom, Bush briefly acknowledged the pain the war is causing.
And I fully understand that this is a difficult war, and it's hard on the American people. But I will once again explain the consequences of failure.
Bush made scant mention of complex facts on the ground. Instead, he spoke as though his faith in a desirable outcome in Iraq would make victory happen.
I strongly believe that democracy will trump totalitarianism every time. That's what I believe. And those are the belief systems on which I'm making decisions.
But Bush's faith-based plan for victory is not shared by many politicians in his own party, who are deserting him almost daily. The Senate is debating a military funding bill, and later this week it is expected to vote on a variety of measures that would lead to troop withdrawals early next year. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Washington.
The Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika held meetings today with his French counterpart, Nicolas Sarkozy, in the Algerian capital. Delegates from both countries participated in the meeting, which was Sarkozy's first in the Arab Maghreb. He defended his position of refusing to apologize for the crimes that were committed during the 132 years of French colonization of Algeria, by saying that world leaders must focus on the future rather than dwell on the past. Sarkozy added that the time has come to find a solution to the Western Sahara conflict.
Although
Sarkozy's visit to Algeria was short, he discussed many political ideas with the Algerian President Bouteflika. Sarkozy has been trying to generate support for his new project of establishing a Mediterranean Union. He focused his talks on finding ways to cooperate on natural gas exploration, foreign investment, and free movement of people.
I talked to President Bouteflika about France's project to establish a Mediterranean Union. I wanted to get his advice and to tell him that his role is essential to the success of this project. This effort does not overlap with the Barcelona project, or the 5+5 group, or the European Union. It is a very strong project that will allow for establishing a secure and developed Mediterranean region.
During a press conference, Sarkozy tried to ease the tensions between Algeria and France that has been building since the French parliament had passed a law glorifying the French colonization of northern Africa. He expressed a desire to build a strong friendship with Algeria, but the Algerians were expecting much more than that.
He must come with a vision to resolve the challenges facing the relation between the two countries based on mutual respect. He must also address the unresolved issues and strengthen the economic relations, including the issue of free movement of people between the two countries. We should not forget some of the regional issues.
Political observers believe that Sarkozy's attempt to get closer to Algeria will not be accepted by Algerian officials without a price. Algerians want France to seriously reconsider regional and bilateral issues.
I do not think that Algeria will accept Sarkozy's proposals, including the Mediterranean Union, or even the proposal of a special trade partnership between Algeria and France. Algeria has adopted more pragmatic policies in this new era. The Algerians will not accept any French proposals if they do not serve the national interests of Algeria.
Attempts to strengthen relations between Algeria and France have failed because Algeria is still struggling with the after effects of the French colonization period. Will Sarkozy succeed this time in achieving what his predecessors have failed to do, or will he return to Paris with only a lesson in history? For Al Madar program, Abu Dhabi Television, Algeria.
The first round of talks between Iranian and IAEA officials was held in Tehran on Wednesday. The dialogues are to continue on Thursday. No reports yet available on the result of the 3-hour negotiations. The talks were held following 5+1 group's agreement with Iran's proposal to resolve the standoff over Iran's nuclear drive with the West. The UN Atomic Watchdog's deputy head arrived in Tehran this morning. Ole Heinonen, the IAEA Deputy Director General for Safeguards, seeks to shape a plan to resolve outstanding issues over Iran's nuclear program during his 2-day visit. Iran's ambassador to the IAEA, Ali Asghar Soltani, said, quote, "We hope that these intensive and positive talks, which demonstrate a positive and fundamental step by the Islamic Republic of Iran, bear fruit." President Ahmadinejad says all Iran's nuclear activities are carried out within the framework of the regulations of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Speaking to reporters in Tehran on Wednesday, President Ahmadinejad reiterated that Iran will follow its nuclear program based on the scheduled plan while sticking to its commitments to IAEA regulations. President Ahmadinejad also emphasized that Iran is ready to remove the IAEA ambiguities over its peaceful nuclear program via negotiations. However, as President added, Iranian nation will not retreat from its absolute rights one iota. Iranian exporters raised major issues concerning Iran's export system during their second meeting with President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad on Wednesday. During the meeting, exporters referred to increasing trend of export of non-oil products in the previous Iranian year and called for more facilities to ease the export process. Low quality and high prices of export products and preparing a suitable ground for Iranian exporters at the international markets were among the issues raised in the meeting.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/Mosaic for more information about these broadcasters or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.